You're listening to the Culture Cure podcast, episode 3, where we chat to Jason S Bradshaw and discover some of the incredible secrets of experience management. Hey there, I'm Amanda Rosazza, the Pop Coach, and I help organizations build high-performance cultures. I've worked across multiple industries in the public and private sector, implementing strategies to consistently improve culture, leadership, customer experience, and employee engagement. This is the Culture Cure. I know what you're thinking. How do we cure organizational culture? How do we fix something that's so intangible, so challenging to measure, to quantify? Getting a grip on your organization's culture can feel like trying to grab onto smoke. Impossible. I'm here to change all that. Let's make the intangible tangible and the impossible possible. Through my unique framework, the Culture Cure, and some incredible conversations with some amazing people, we'll arm you with the tools, systems, processes, and mindset shifts you need to become a culture champion. Ready? Let's go. Jason started his first business at the age of 14, differentiating himself by the service he provided. For the last 3 decades, he has worked with some of the world's most recognizable brands, improving the experience to transform the business. Jason is a best-selling author and is considered a global guru on customer experience and a leading authority on experience management. Let me let you in on a little secret. You can grab onto that smoke I was talking about earlier. Let me introduce you to the Reach ecosystem. Everything you need to develop higher performing teams, leaders, and workplace culture. The unique platform that brings together people and culture and learning and development to deliver new solutions and value. Some people call it organizational development in a box. We call it a capability and culture platform. Whatever you call it, if you have people, you will love the Reach ecosystem. Want to learn more? Head on over to amandarosazza.com, that's AMANDAROSAZZA.com, and book a Reach chat today, or use the links in the description. Okay, hey there, everyone. Amanda here in the house, and I am joined by a very special guest today. I am here with Jason S Bradshaw, and he is an experience management rock star, and he is here to tell us a little bit about his journey, and he's going to enlighten us also about the effects of culture on customer experience. And I'm totally intrigued, and I'm totally here for it. Jason, how are you today?
Fantastic, Amanda. Thanks for having me on the show. It's an absolute privilege and an honor to be involved.
Oh, look, it's amazing to have you here, and I'm stoked to have you on the show. So tell me a little bit about, because I know you have a really fascinating journey. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up where you are.
Well, by the time I was 21, I had owned 3 different businesses, 3 different verticals in 2 different cities. But my very first business started at the age of 14, born out of a desire to be able to buy the new shiny toys that I wanted as a teenager that mum and dad just simply wouldn't buy. And, when I say shiny toys, I'm talking about, the early days of home computers, and my first mobile phone was a brick that literally came in a bag that you had to unzip to take a phone call. That wasn't exactly convenient.
I love it.
And so I started selling the exact thing that I wanted to buy. And that enabled a couple of things. It enabled me to get what I wanted at a cheaper price, but it also enabled me to fund the purchase in the first place. And I was getting people to give me their hard-earned cash for something they hadn't even seen. That, in fact, they'd have to give me their cash and then wait a week to get their product. But I was able to do that in a way that was still a better experience than the store down the road that had it on the shelf that they could walk out with it at that time. So I was fortunate enough to be interviewed by various small business magazines, A Current Affair, various other news outlets. And in every interview, I said, I can't compete on price, but I can compete on service. But wind forward many decades from my days as a 14-year-old, and in every industry that I've worked in, whether it's been for a big corporate like Volkswagen Group or Target, or Fairfax, the government, or in my own businesses, when I've taken an approach of serving my customers and employees first, delivering value first, then the commercial rewards have come. And I absolutely believe that if you transform the experience, you can improve your business.
Absolutely. And I love that so much. And I lean into that. I love it so much. So tell us a little bit about and your journey, the way you started out is just amazing. So right from the age of 14, you were creating those amazing experiences for people. So tell us a little bit about how you help organizations now with that whole holistic experience management.
Yeah, so I think there is this misconception, first and foremost, that experience management is all about customer service, or maybe we'll say customer experience or employee engagement. And quite often people are talking about transactions. The reality is, though, that your memory of your favorite theme park or your favorite airline or your favorite supermarket isn't the result of one individual transaction. It's the result of many transactions. And unfortunately, what most organizations do is they think about a transaction as opposed to that holistic, what is that interaction? What value and experience is my product delivering? What value experience are my team members delivering? What value am I delivering pre and post the transaction of the sale? And so the experience management way of operating says, where are the pain points that I'm creating? And how can I minimize that pain to create a better experience for our customers and hopefully our employees in the process? And then through that, create a system of operating that is about identifying the gap between the promise made and the reality, the promise delivered, and then creating that cycle of improving and closing that gap. Because people buy your promise. I know there's someone out there, a really famous guy called Simon Sinek, that talks about people buy your why. I would suggest that people actually buy your promise, and
Yeah,
they
nice.
stay for the delivery of that promise, the performance against that promise. And this is the key thing. Your customers are definitely buying your promise, but your employees are buying the promise as well. No one applies to work for Google because they think Google is a bad company. They
That's
apply
it.
to Google because of the promise that the brand has through the stories their employees tell about working there, right? And that promise attracts some people, and for other people, it completely sends them away. I know if I said to my mum, God bless her, she always wants to do a great job. But if I said to her, there's this fantastic opportunity, it pays 5 times what you earn today, but every single day is going to be a different day. You're not going to know what you're going to turn up with. They change their IT systems on you every week. She would
Yes.
freak out. Like the five
Right.
times the salary wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And, we create these promises. And when we deliver on those promises, we create raving fans, and we truly transform the commercial outcomes that our businesses operate and deliver under.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So you may not be able to mention some of the clients that you've worked with, but can you give me an example of how you've taken them from where they are, from island A to island B? Can you give me
Mhm.
some insights on some of the magic you've created?
So, most organizations will tell you that they have a desire to make more money. And when you
Yeah.
say to them, how are you going to make more money? They say, well, I'm going to sell more. Okay, well, let's ask the next logical step. How are you going to sell more? And they're like, well, I'll spend more money on advertising. I'll tell more
Right.
people about my promise. Most business leaders don't say, I'll tell more people about your promise, but they use their own language that means that. And then you go, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And then they say, well, I'll advertise more. I'll get on social media. I'll do all these things. And I was working with one organization. And I said, well, what's the biggest fear your customers have when they're doing business with you? And it
Okay.
was
I
like,
like
well,
it.
when I buy a car, I probably have a car I need to get rid of. And the conversation around the worth of that car, I really don't like, because I think I'm going to
Right.
lose from the outset.
Okay.
And I said, well, let's flip the conversation. Let's give them a way to get an estimate around the value of that trade in vehicle ahead of the conversation with
Yes.
your sales agent.
Yeah.
Give them the power. And of course, there was a lot of fear about that. But
Yeah.
what if we pay more? Well, no one's making you pay more. We're creating a new way to add value and create a conversation. Now, in the process of doing that, what we did was we completely disarmed the customer from their fear. Their fear
Right.
was, I'm going to get so far down the journey that I'm locked into making a decision that I don't want to make. I'm going to lose out. They're going to charge me too much for the car. They're going to give me too less on the trade-in. And what's in the middle is little old me paying too much for my vehicle. But by giving them the chance to, in their own time, from the comfort of wherever they've got an internet connection, to get an answer by just providing some really simple information. And the answer was, helpful but not specific. And what I mean by that, it didn't say your 1996 Toyota Corolla is worth $4,372.
Right.
It was your car's worth somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000. So it didn't completely solve the problem. But what it said was, people like you with a similar car to yours can
Yeah.
expect to get somewhere between this and that. So it gave them some power in the conversation. And importantly, it gave them the insight to know if they could afford to take the next logical step. And by
Right.
doing that, the organizations that embraced that philosophy had a 300% increase in the number of customers that were willing to give them their name, email address, and phone number.
That is
Now,
amazing.
not every one of those customers those leads are going to turn into a paying customer, but that's 300% more people you can start having a conversation with.
That's it.
And a conversation should lead to a relationship, and a relationship will eventually lead to a sale. And I say eventually because great salespeople know that it's not about making the sale in 30 seconds, it's about making the sale. And sometimes that means you've got to have a relationship that takes a little bit longer. And other times it's, the person that walks in and says, I like what you're saying to me, I want to buy, and I want to buy now.
That's it. It's a long game, right? We've got
Mm.
to appreciate the long game. And what I love, Jason, so just so I've got this right, what I love is that it's not just about creating these amazing experiences for people. It's about creating an amazing experience by removing the barrier or the fear or the awkwardness or whatever that
The
thing
pain.
is. That's really amazing. What a great approach. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No problems. And we have in every organization, small and big, we have these places where we create pain, sometimes unintentionally. I would argue probably most of the time unintentionally,
Yeah.
or driven out of a fear that if we do something, if we give something away, we as the business person are going to lose out. There are massively successful entrepreneurs out there that make hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and yet they start from a place of service, and they just fill their funnel with people that are interested in what they have to say or to sell if it's a physical product. And then, through that process, customers get the right to self-select, is this for me or isn't it? But if we start from that place of service, from delivering value from the outset, then we will fill the funnel of sales leads and sell more. Now, the trick is not to stop delivering value at that transaction. And this is the other part of the experience management way of operating, is that once you've had that transaction, that commercial transaction where someone hands over some cash for a good or a service, so many organizations stop there, or they'll send out a survey and say, how did we do? And then that's the last thing you'll hear from them.
Yeah.
But that's actually the point in time where the customer is giving you permission to continue to build a relationship. And you should find a way to continue to deliver value so that when the next logical time for them to recommend your product or your service, or to buy, or to buy from you again, or to have their product or service serviced or enhanced, the next logical place for them to go is the people they already have a relationship with. And so
Absolutely.
a company that is focused on improving the experience is actually focused on improving the experience and adding value across the customer transactions and interactions through the product, every time you pick up a product, if it's simple and easy to use, that's reinforcing that you made the right decision, as opposed to if it's complicated to use and you're getting no support. The brand, everything the brand says uh, about the organization is also a reflection on why people buy you. And then, of course, you've got your employees. And I'm sure we'll get to it, but the employees are what people remember. Think of your favorite movie. It doesn't matter which one, whatever your favorite movie is, when you're telling your friends and family about the movie, you're probably talking about the actor and actress that were the stars of the movie, how great they were, how captivating their performance was. They're actually the employee. The business, the IP is owned by someone else, but it's the employee delivering the experience. So, we need to remember that the experience is what creates that memory, which leads to repeat and referral business.
Did you know The Culture Cure isn't just a podcast? It's also our unique framework we use to build high-performance cultures. Want to learn more? Book a culture chat today by heading on over to amandarosazza.com. That's AMANDAROSAZZA.com, or using the links in the description. Ready to help your team reach for the stars? The Reach ecosystem gives you everything you need to develop your teams. Leading brands all over the world, including us here at the Pop Coach, are already using Reach. We're helping our teams and our clients create an adaptable, engaged workforce using a data-led approach to improve performance now, not tomorrow, and prepare for the future of work. Are you ready? Head on over to amandarosazza.com, that's AMANDAROSAZZA.com, and book a Reach chat today, or use the links in the description.
That's it. That's it. Oh my goodness. Beautifully put, Jason. I love that analogy so much. Now we're about at that halfway point, which I promised you I would ask you a really, really important question, possibly the most important question. Now, in case those of you playing at home did not know, Jason and I are huge Disney fans. Jason's done a lot with Disney Institute. I think you must be on the wall somewhere over there, I imagine. But so Jason, tell me, your favorite Disney experience that you've had in your life and why?
Look, it's really difficult to choose which one. It'd be easy for me to say my very first time to Disneyland in Anaheim, and I say that would be the easy one because it was the first, and I fell in love with the interactions, the experiences, the consistency of the experience. The nostalgia of it being the first theme park that Disney ever done, and Walt's vision that he had for it.
Yes.
But I'm actually going to say that my best Disney vacation, and a vacation for me is always a little bit of work in there, but my best Disney vacation was probably my most recent one. I did a 4-night, 5-day cruise on the Disney Dream.
Beautiful.
And then I did a following 5 days at Walt Disney World. So
Perfect.
10 days of Walt Disney. And what made it probably the most memorable was that it was the most relaxed Disney experience that I've ever had.
Okay.
And I think that comes from being so fanatical about Disney. I've been to Walt Disney World in Orlando 7 or 8 times, maybe even more. I've been to Anaheim as many times. So, I've been to Paris. It was my first Disney cruise, though. But the whole mind shift was, I don't need to rush to do everything because I've done every ride that interests me.
Yes.
Now I can just choose to do the rides when I want to do the rides. So, it was a different pace. Maybe it's also a reflection that I'm getting older, but it was just a very different pace to what I usually do. And it was good that it had been a couple of years since I'd been to Disney, thanks to the pandemic, and so I was able to just sit back and lap it up and embrace it in a less frantic way. But it was everything that was magical about Disney. 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is still there. The magic is still there. And even though cast members, didn't have any job to go to for 8 or 9 months because of the pandemic, they're back with a vengeance. They're just as entertaining, just as guest focused, using Disney terms, just as
Yes.
guest focused as ever.
Amazing. I love to hear that so much. I'm really excited to get back over there myself. Thank you for sharing. Now, I didn't warn you about this question. Now, knowing that Disney are so good at what they do, what's one thing you would change, Jason?
Oh, one thing I would change about Disney.
Yeah.
Well, build a park in Australia and make it easy to get to.
Yes.
Look, I think the one thing that I would change about Disney
Mhm.
would be some of the past decisions that they've made around access to
Okay.
Disney. And
Okay.
what I
Yeah.
mean by that is, and I can't remember the former CEO's name. It was a few back. I should know it because I
Michael
have.
Eisner?
Yeah, Michael Eisner. So
Yep.
Michael, at the time, faced with growth ambitions and cash constraints, made the decision to allow the Marriott Group to build 2 hotels at Walt Disney World,
Right.
and
Yeah.
right adjacent to the boardwalk and the beach club resorts. Now, they're called the Swan and Dolphin. They're a perfectly fine Marriott property. One's a
Okay.
Western, one's another brand in the Marriott family.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
perfectly fine Marriott properties, but they're not Disney.
Right.
And
Okay.
so, you walk into them, they're connected to all of the Disney properties. They have the Disney riverboats has a stop there.
Yeah.
You get all the Disney park benefits that you get as if you stay at a Disney property.
Yeah.
But it's not a Disney. And you walk in and from the outset it is not a Disney property.
Oh, wow.
It could just
Yeah,
be
okay.
any other Marriott at any other location. And for
Interesting.
me, I understand why Michael Eisner made the decision.
Mhm.
Financially, it was
Mm.
probably the right thing to do at the
Mm.
time. But if there was one thing I would do, it would be to buy the Marriott Group out, rebrand those properties, retheme them
Very
because they don't have any theming,
Ugh.
and have a fantastic new property that is Disney themed on site. I just feel that it's such a juxtaposition to everything that's around it. And hey, there's Disney friendly hotels that you can choose that are outside the Walt Disney gates, if you like.
Yes. Yes.
And they're perfectly fine hotels. I'm not frapping on Marriott. I only stay at Marriott's. If Marriott's a choice, I stay at Marriott. But when you're at Walt Disney, I think there's something about staying at a Walt Disney property, and these two that are
Absolutely.
within the environment just seems a little
Yeah.
bit juxtaposed. But
Yeah, there you go. Interesting.
so yeah, I'm sure there's other things that you could change, but that's the biggest move I would make.
Yeah, I can't even imagine being on property and walking into something that's not themed because everything is so well themed. There you
Mm,
go.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
we need to petition someone.
yeah,
Yes, let's make it
yeah,
happen. Let's make it
yeah.
happen. Yeah,
Unfortunately, Bob Iger is no longer the CEO, and I think he's the man
yeah,
that would have done
I think so.
he liked bold moves.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Now, Jason, to bring us home, tell us a little bit about the effect of culture on CX
Mhm.
and how the employee experience ties into that, because I feel like there's a lot going on there that you'd be able to unpack for us. So tell
Yeah.
us a bit about that.
So a lot of people talk about the 4 pillars of experience management: customer
Right.
experience, brand experience, employee experience, and product experience.
Right.
But I believe there's a 5th pillar, and the
Mm,
5th pillar is culture. Now,
nice.
I know people will say, well, culture is about employee experience. Yes, but culture's something unique. And what I mean by something unique is, if you work for Salesforce, the
Right.
culture in the Salesforce office in Sydney is slightly different to the culture in the Melbourne office, is slightly different to the culture in San Francisco, and slightly different in every office, right? And Salesforce is probably not a great example because they spend a lot of energy to try and create a single culture, but
Right.
there will be differences in the culture. The
Mm,
employee experience is about how you deliver on your promise to your employees,
right.
and the gap between the promise and the reality. So for me, culture is something that is, a discipline in itself.
Mm,
And it starts by understanding what is culture. And this is something that I'm writing in my new book. And it's
awesome.
it's something that I struggle with defining. And, there's of course an Oxford Dictionary definition. And it's the way we work, it's the way we care for each other. All of those things are true. But I think at the heart of it, culture is about our behaviors when we think no one is watching.
Oh, yes. Nailed it.
and
Yes.
and that is why it impacts customer experience,
Yes.
because how we treat our customers when we think no one else is watching, when we don't think there's going to be a survey score or some
Mm,
our replication of what we've done, when it's our behavior when we think no one is watching is how we truly serve our customers. And it's also why, when we're struggling to get an outcome for our customers, to solve a customer problem in the right organization with a customer centric and experience centric culture, our
yes.
colleagues will jump in and say, "Hey, I'm really busy, but this is more important right now. So, how can I help you
Yeah.
get it solved?" So,
Yeah.
culture is the behavior that we have when we think no one's watching, which ultimately impacts the experiences we deliver, because it drives every decision we make. And if I could share a Disney story that I think illustrates this point
Please.
perfectly.
Yes.
So I'm in Orlando at Walt Disney World. I'm meeting with one of their event sales associates.
Right.
Desi, bless her, she has now retired from the Disney Corporation, but she was just a bundle of joy. I
Oh,
absolutely loved going and seeing her every time I was in Orlando. Even if I was there on vacation, I would make a point of going and seeing her
yeah.
because of the experience she delivered.
Right.
Now, her job, if we're really clear, her job was to sell me. Her job was to say, this premium Disney property is where you should hold your event. This premium room is the one that your guests would deserve to stay in.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
this location is where we can make, her job was to sell me.
Yeah.
And, Disney would never say it like this, but her job was to extract as much money from me as possible, right?
Absolutely.
Her job was not to clean the park. Her job was not to clean any areas of where she was walking and what have you. But one day we were walking along our very first meeting. She'd picked me up from my hotel. We drove to the other hotel that I was looking at. We're walking along and there was a piece of trash on the sidewalk. And without stopping the conversation, without missing a heartbeat in the conversation, she stooped down, picked up the trash, popped it in the trash can, and kept walking. Now, she's not accountable, but she is responsible, along with everyone else that works for Disney, for delivering a magical experience. And so the culture of Disney is so strong that there isn't this senior sales associate. She was very well awarded. She was very, very good at her job. And not once did she think in her mind, it's somebody else's job to pick up the trash. Nor did the custodian, whose actual job it is to pick up trash, go, I'm going to ring the union because someone else has
Right.
picked it up.
Yes.
They both understood that the purpose of Disney was much greater than the individual. So she just picked up the trash. In so doing, she achieved two things. She helped her colleague, her friend, her fellow cast member, the
Yeah.
custodian, achieve his job. He's what
Yes.
he's accountable for, he or
Yeah.
she's accountable for, and help Disney deliver a clean, friendly, inviting environment for all guests, not just for me, right? Look, I probably wouldn't even be talking about it if we just kept walking and she didn't pick up the trash,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it wasn't like there was trash everywhere. It was like just a single piece of trash. So that is what a culture delivers, not a customer experience process, not a customer experience program, not some great CRM system that knows that I like, Mickey ice creams. It's a culture that says the behavior that you do when you think no one is watching is how we operate. And at Disney, everyone is responsible for making a magical, inviting experience for everyone. And so that is how culture impacts the customer experience. I'd also argue that it impacts the employee experience because no one, in that example, no one likes going to a dirty workplace, right? So
No.
everyone is part of the team.
That's amazing. Now, and just to tap into Disney Institute speak, I believe they say it's not my fault, but it is my problem. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a couple of years since I've been to the Disney Institute. I'm not handing back my ears. I've got 7 sets, so I'm not handing back any. But they're very much around. It doesn't matter if it's your fault. It's what are we here to achieve?
Right. Yeah.
And that comes back to where we started. I said that organizations make promises, and our gap between the promise and the reality is the opportunity to transform a business, to improve how a business operates. And that is essentially what Disney has created, a really quick and simple way that if they see a gap in the promise, e.g. trash on the ground, someone deals with it. Someone deals with it.
Yeah.
But then, behind the scenes, they have a process for understanding, we're getting a lot of feedback from cast members that there's this problem. How can we address it quickly? And, anyone that gets the opportunity, I don't care what industry you're in, the Disney Institute has some fantastic insights that can help you improve your business. And I've certainly enjoyed my time working with them, and I'm very blessed to have done the program before some of the changes that, while absolutely necessary, and things evolve over time, I certainly got to see some stuff that perhaps only cast members usually get. So.
Absolutely. Jason, you're an absolute rock star. Thank you for joining us today. Now, most importantly, before we do sign off, let us know where people can find you. Now, I will put this in the show notes, of course, but let us know, where do we find you, Jason?
So the easiest way is to go to my website, jasonsbradshaw.com. But on all the main social networks, I'm Jason S Bradshaw. I am trying to get myself into TikTok, but I'm not quite there yet. I have an account, but there's not any funny dancing or anything, but I'm Jason S Bradshaw everywhere.
Excellent. Well, I'm keen to see some TikTok action. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Jason, thank you again for sharing your insights and joining us today. We would love to have you again on the show. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and we will catch you again next time. Signing off. Catch you later.
This has been another episode of The Culture Cure, and I'm your host, Amanda Rosazza, the Pop Coach. You can help support us by tagging me on LinkedIn, sharing this podcast with a friend, or leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, this is The Culture Cure.